All right. Good morning, Keller Williams Prosperity. It is Matt and Mary Beth here to deliver shift tactic number two,
Good
which
morning.
is all about expense management. So on today's call, um, we will be discussing how to define expense management, how to protect your margin, and how to get your money smart again. And those are the three main topics in this shift tactic two. So with that being said, Shift Tactic 2 is pages 28 or 29 through 36. So if you do want to follow along with us, that is what we're looking at. And Mary Beth, one of the first things that really jumped out at me, because I'm a highlighting fiend, so I'm not going to read all of my highlights.
Yeah, same.
Yes. So one of the things that resonated with me at the bottom of page 29, it says, as we've been discussing, shifts happen and shifts breed change. So one of the things to get you back to profitability fastest is cutting costs, which is what we're going to talk about today. It says the number one determinant of thriving is lead generation, but the number one determinant of surviving is expense management. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So
Yeah.
you want to define in your mind what expense management entails and how you define that?
Well, just to get started, the beginning of the chapter, I love the quotes that he always adds, and it's just so, it just fits so good. It's not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. And so we talked about this a couple calls before this, was how Gary's everything has changed. And it also references in the book about insanity being, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yep.
And, we can get real dumb with our money as well. We're in different times. We can't expect the same dollars to be producing the same results. And we have to start to hold each cost going out of our bank accounts to our business, and then also to our personal. This chapter specifically talks more about the business aspect and knowing what your profit margins are there. And I also want to bring into this conversation a little bit about what some of us are seeing at the home front as far as how we're able to cut those costs as well. So I'm sorry.
No, I think you answered the question right, and I think to me a big part of this expense management section or chapter ties into the MREA when they're talking about budgeting and ultimately red light, green light, and really being proactive right now, and not even for things that you're thinking of getting, but things you currently have, like really looking at your line items and saying, is this worth it? And one of the things I wanted to ask you, because I actually had a question before coming on the call, and I was like, oh, this is actually perfect. And it looks like she's on the call, so watching. But one of our agents had asked, she was considering doing Matterport for one of her listings in Lake Hopatcong. And I wrote back and asked, okay, well, how much is it? Will the Matterport actually still go there? But I also said, with that being said, right now you have to be very diligent with all of your expenses. And is that something that when you're playing red light, green light, in your opinion, what do you think something like Matterport right now, because we are locked down and we're in our houses, like, is that a green light or is that a red light? And it was $300, just FYI, for the Matterport.
Okay, sure. And so conceptually, I think we need to understand something that they talk about in this chapter is that you are going to, you lead generate to create revenue, and you expense manage to create profit. Okay, so because I've been a team leader for a long time, over 12 years, I've been looking at the P&Ls, our income statement for our Keller Williams offices regularly, almost daily, if not definitely a couple times of a week. And then we're forced to look at our expenses so that we can transmit. There is no time when I'm looking at a market center saying that, oh yeah, we're gonna cut our costs out of this. We definitely need to generate revenue. However, in those really good times where you're creating revenue real easy, it's easy to let some of those expenses feel like they're giving us back profits.
Yep.
Feel like we need them.
And
So
everything's green light. It's green light, green light, green light.
it's
Go,
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 go.
go, 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 because this makes sense and this makes sense. And while I do believe like a product like Matterport matters,
Yes.
no, while a product like Matterport is something that could essentially help the seller sell, is it what's going to help the seller sell? No. We're hearing that, you know, non-tech savvy sellers are able to walk around with you know, with a cell phone at chest level and just walk through the house to give somebody a quick video, no cost, as to what it feels like to walk through the house, right? So could we get the same thing done differently? Not obviously as fancy and not as a virtual experience. Yet I do have to think that if that specific agent as well does not have proven success, that it has given them back more on those listings with Matterport than other listings, then I would say it's a red light right now.
Yeah, no, but that also brings up a really, I think the next part of this conversation and what this chapter goes into ultimately is what your return on investment is. So what you're saying is if you've done Matterport before and you've done Matterport for other listings and you've gotten profit from it and you've actual tangible evidence that if you didn't do Matterport, this wouldn't have sold, or something of the effect that it definitely impacted the sale, then you would say maybe green light it if you've seen actual proof. But if this is the first time you're doing it, the expense, you would probably red light it just because the data just isn't there yet to know whether it's effectively affecting your business.
I would assume if you're in business that you should have some other proven ways of how you've gotten the house sold. You know, I was on a call. We're on calls all the time now, right? So I was on a call the other day, and Stacy Skates and Erica Hill, two very, very talented women, and have had major success through shifts in our company. They're looking at every single line item, and they are asking these three questions. One, how specifically does this impact rate of return, the return on investment?
Yep.
So how is it specifically? I want to know how that Matterport, or how that tool, or how that email, or how that gym membership. I want to know how those that specifically aided this return on investment. Okay, that's the first thing they're looking at. The second thing is they're looking at, do I need it? So if I were to ask myself, do I need it with the Matterport when I can get video differently, free? I don't need it because I could still get the same kind of. And the third thing is, well, if you've decided that you've needed it, what would it take for that thing to turn into a $0 on your line item, on your income statement? What would it take? And so some of the office things that we're hearing about is, you know, having a copier being sponsored by a business that wants to stay in business with our agents during a time like this. So being creative in finding a way to offset our costs, but by no means should we be adding any kind of expenses, and we should absolutely be looking to cut right now. Be ahead of
it. That was in here. I don't know if it was this chapter, but it was cut. And so I guess one of the things I wanted to bring up, because I was thinking about this as you were talking and as I was reading, and we've been talking about this. So when we're talking about return on investment, I've been on a lot of webinars, I've read a lot of books, I've been to a lot of trainings. I know when I was in Morristown, I went to a class that Sean had taught, and his belief was that your return on investment should be 10x, meaning 10 times what you're spending. So if you're spending $300 in Matterport, then 10 times that would be, you know, I'm bad at math, but 3,000. You know, then that math I can do. But ultimately, that you should be getting back that in return. Now, I guess, like I said, but I've also heard sometimes where some people have said 4 times return on investment. So in your experience, just as team leader, what is your opinion? Because I've heard it different ways.
Well, and it says it in the book also. It's a personal decision.
Mhm.
And a lot of these tactics, as well as our mindset, we talked about mindset yesterday, but also I've been getting on to John Maxwell's leadership calls. Mindset is super important, but we need to set some bar lines. We need to set some benchmarks. And we personally need to expect a return.
Yeah.
So it references cost plus.
Yeah.
Obviously, if something is not even getting you back what you've cost to, purchase it and put it in your business, then it's not something that is generating you income. It's costing you.
Yeah.
And so this goes back a little bit in the chapter just to understand that in times like this is where we get really we start holding our things accountable, decisions that we made very loosely that, oh yeah, put that in place, add that subscription, put that add on. I need Apple Music. It's $9.99 a month. So all those kinds of things that we even forgot about in our business and in our personal, those are things that unfortunately fear of loss actually is a bigger motivator than the pleasure of the financial opportunities and the gain. And I do believe that on this specific tactic, agents and our sphere of influence will take action because of fear of loss.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think you're exactly right. And I think that actually was in this chapter, which it said that people are more driven by fear than opportunity. And I think that's your point. That's very, very true.
And unfortunately, in a really good market where the temperature is just right for buyers and sellers to be transacting, agents do not give themselves, they give themselves all the credit. Leaders give themselves the credit. And sometimes that's the challenge because they don't see the market's contribution to the success. So when the market does shift, it really throws you because everything is different.
For sure. And well, one of the things I was on one of those KW Connect Live classes, I forget who the speaker was, but one of the things that he recommended doing, and I've heard a couple people recommend this, and again, this is whether you're an individual agent or whether you're a team, is he said I think it's every 6 months, he loses his credit card. And ultimately, the reason he does that is because then he has to get a new credit card reissued, and all of these companies reach back and say, hey, what's your new credit card? And he then has an honest conversation with his staff and says, red light, green light, is this something that we really need? And he even said, which I thought was kind of funny, he would sometimes, not necessarily jokingly, but say he's going to cut something, and he wants people to fight for why they need to keep it. Like he would almost be like, oh, we're going to get rid of this, because he wants to see how passionate people can get about something that they have on their expense sheet. So I thought that was actually a really cool idea. It's like if you're running a team, if you were to lose your credit card and you were to go through everything and see who on the team, like or staff or admins, why do you need something? Why are they passionate about keeping it? And then see based on that whether you want to keep it or not keep it. Similarly, if you're an individual agent, you're also going through that list and you're saying, okay, well, if I were to get rid of this, would my clients even notice, or is this something that's even, really that necessary?
To read off something that, get all expenses should feel the heat of your scrutiny. Like there is waste there. Some of the examples, variable expenses might include hidden fees, add-on fees that we're not aware of, overcharges that we're not paying attention to, unnecessary work that should be postponed or canceled. In some things, there might be some projects that we put out there that we've commissioned some people to get us some prices back. Maybe as a market center, we have a video project that we are just going to put on hold right now, and it says ineffective expenditures that have been returning zero results, copies to couriers, office supplies to subscriptions, snail mail to express mail. The waste is absolutely there. All expenses should feel the pain. Okay. You're looking at everything saying, do I absolutely need this right now? Guys, what if this lasts 3, 4, 5, 6 months? It's a real conversation. I have 2 calls put into 2 of the mortgages that I have right now to see what kind of relief they're offering as a homeowner.
Yep.
Some of our agents need to be doing that. Some of our agents need to be educating our homeowners in our sphere of influence and letting them know that that is a possibility, that some banks are going ahead and giving relief. Also getting the census filled out so that if you are a family that is, if you do, well, I guess, qualify for some of the government aid that they're going to be releasing, you need to do everything that is available to you to potentially bring in other revenue, but most importantly, cut expenses.
Yeah, no, and I think so. You were reading from page 34, from what you were kind of highlighting, and I think to continue on that page, and maybe we had kind of talked about this a little bit, was thinking of ways to turn some fixed costs into variable costs. So it's saying,
what does that mean, Matt?
So at the bottom of page 34, it's saying that if you can get them, if you can extend some fixed costs, maybe you can push them, defer them. To me, it's really about having those conversations with some of your providers and seeing what you can do to, maybe say, okay, look, I can't pay it now, but rather than paying it now, can I pay it in July? Like it'll be a larger, amount that you're paying in July, yet right now you just don't have you're leading with revenue and you're not getting the revenue to be able to pay that right now. So you're changing variables.
I mean, put it this way, even if you had a $300 payment for something that maybe you could just put on the back end of 2020. So instead of paying it for March, April, and May, you're paying it for October, November, and December, double payments. Yep. I was just asked as a landlord, if I was able to get the relief from the mortgage companies, would there be a relief on the rent? And I'm willing to put my hand in there with my people in that it might be what we have to do. So if you're a landlord, you might want to consider calling to just be able to help your people. If you are a tenant, maybe you want to educate your landlord that this is something that they could be doing as well. But back to just regular business expenses, I do want to make a point that last time we had the shift and we used these books to go through and itemize everything on our income statements, it was eye-opening. And now more than ever, I am going to challenge you guys to do this in the technology world, in your tools and your resources that you need to run your business.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure Command can do a lot of what we may be paying other services to do. And now may be the time that if you're not utilizing all the bells and whistles of some of the subscriptions you do have on other outside third-party bolt-on technology, because it does offer more bells and whistles. Yeah. If you haven't started to implement them now, I would honestly advise you to cut that subscription and dive into Command for your solution.
Well, and I would even say, like, if you have any hesitation, reach out to me, because I talked to an agent the other week and they're like, well, I use Boomtown. And I was like, okay, well, what specifically is it about Boomtown that you really like? And it had something to do with the way they can organize their contacts and sort them. And I was like, well, Command can do that now. And they said, okay, well, but I didn't think it could, because like this person tried using Command 6 months ago and that feature wasn't available. Yet Command is truly evolving every single day. So if there are things you're like, oh, well, I'm keeping Boomtown, or I'm keeping Conversion, or I'm keeping whatever it is that you might have, reach out to me, because I'd love to know, like, what is it specifically that you like about these CRMs. And the cool thing with Keller Williams is, or with KW Command is, if there's something that you really like in Conversion or in Boomtown or wherever, let me know. Or you can post yourself. If you go to ideas.kw.com, so that's ideas.kw.com, you can post what you would like to see. And a lot of times they do it. I mean, Vanessa Robles gave me a suggestion with the within the CRM, the smart plans, when they're sending out, like, it used to come from like the email just looked like it came from a no reply email, and she was like, well, no one's ever clicked that. And then we found out that there were a lot of people who posted that, but I was another person who posted, and now it's set up where it's coming from your name, which makes a lot more sense. But so they are very receptive to ideas. So don't be afraid to reach out to them to post that.
Yeah. So I think that diving into command could be a solution
Yep.
for a lot of our agents and some of the subscriptions that they're
Now, what about
paying. The credit card, what?
what about dialers? So like people who use like Mojo or you know, a dialer system. Lead generation is obviously a lot of people's and most people's one thing. Yet the dialers are a cost that does add up. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't know what your thoughts would be on that.
Well, my thoughts on that, and I mean, initially are don't touch the dialer if you're using it. I can also tell you that there's probably a lot of agents that have been a you know, a member and they've had the subscription, but they haven't really used it. So,
Yeah.
once again, look at some of those subscriptions that you have. Matt, I think that was a really great idea for most people to go ahead and cancel that credit card
Mm-hmm.
and or ask for a new credit card so that you get a new number, and then you have to re-up those subscriptions.
Yep.
So that's a really great idea. If not, just get one of your credit card statements as well as your bank statement and start to go through. I do, even on a personal note, there's been a lot less activity on my personal statement because we're not going out to the stores.
Yep.
So, and we're not dying either. So the thing is, if we were able to cut a couple $100 a week of just nonsense,
Mm-hmm.
let's really dig deep and start to cut even more from
Yep.
business and from personal. I'm really encouraging you guys, and look, there's no judgment. This could be a really tough time. It's times like this though that we realize we should have maybe better prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully times like this that we get real serious to ensure that if and when this were to ever happen again, our families are in a better position than they are in right now. And even if you're in a great position, I'm sure we could be in even a better position.
Yep.
There may be a lot of people that we have to help.
Yeah, no, and with that, I was, you know, just what you were talking about the credit cards and everything you were just mentioning. I like how the chapter really kind of ends on page 36, where it says, "To be an effective money manager, you must be a budget bully. Challenge everything and make nothing sacred." Which I just like the term budget bully because it's it's true. Like you really do need to like some of these things you need to take a hatchet to because you're realizing that, you know, maybe this isn't essential. You know, throw everything out that's not bolted to the ground. I heard someone say the other day, and I think that that is true, especially right now as you're trying to cut costs and ultimately become profitable, which is the name of the game.
Yeah, so I mean, most agents, and even on the market center level, if there's no more revenue coming in, it's just going to be a short term, right? Short time, the short term of that. And so we need to just be building the pipeline. As far as the caller, another point I was going to make is we were just on a call today with our ALC and hearing that they're having hour-long conversations with people when they're calling them. Calling into your sphere, your database, your neighbors, checking in to make sure that your past clients, your friends, your family, everybody's okay. And if they need something, like Teresa Forte was saying, humanity, right? A little bit of humanity. How you doing? Do they have games? Maybe you have a whole bunch of games that you could be, you know, sending off to your neighbors so that they could have family game night too. So there's different reasons for you to call, not cold call.
Yep.
I know that Eric will probably say, no, you still want to cold call. You definitely still want to call to be that resource to help people that do need to buy and sell in this market. There will be for sale by owners and you know that need to sell for some reason. And so you still want to be there to service them, but I do think that right now the best use of your time could be into your personal databases.
Absolutely.
Best
Well,
dollar spent.
On that note, it's 11:25, and we typically leave the last 5 minutes open for questions for people who are on this call. I will. So if you have questions, please use the chat box and ask them now, and Mary Beth and I will answer them for the next 5 minutes. I will be posting this video on our Facebook private Facebook page, the Agent Community. So for those people who maybe tuned in late or who aren't watching this live, we will be putting that on there as well. So what
Yeah, and
question?
make no mistake, guys, that this is decision-making time. This is, put the big boy pants on and start to look at your life, your finances, your business. And those who make great decisions during this time are gonna come out of this really in an amazing opportunity and look at it as an opportunity. Those who don't, and in a few weeks kind of sunset out and just do the couch thing,
Yep.
that decision is going to create a consequence as well.
Yep.
So,
let's see. Does anyone have any
questions?
Right now, not yet. Let's see. Any questions, anyone?
Also, while we're waiting, is stock market. We talked today as well that the stock market, some people are losing a lot of money in the stock market, and we need to be sensitive with that. And then there's some really great opportunity for those that do understand the stock market to buy into some of the stock that's super low right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, right now it looks like there's no questions. So with that, before closing out, I just want to, as we always do, just reference that tomorrow we will be doing shift tactic number 3, which is called Do More with Less. Leverage. So tomorrow is going to be about leverage, and that's pages 37, I believe 48 maybe, or yeah, 37 to 48. So for those of you who have been following along, we will be doing that section tomorrow.
Yep.
And we look forward to continuing this. I hope you've been finding these helpful. I think it's been a lot of good information. I've been learning a lot going through this with you, Mary Beth, and it's really valuable information for all of our agents to be plugging into.
Yeah, absolutely. I just so appreciate everybody for plugging in. I encourage you to share this video out to your sphere and to your friends and your Facebook and wherever you can share it. Keep staying plugged in. I would encourage you to get a Zoom account so that you too can stay plugged into your community and offer maybe a shift series to your friends and family as well. So just get creative in this time, guys. Get creative.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow at 11 a.m., same Zoom link. And we will see you then. Have a great day, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.